Well, I'm going to be talking about their 2024 explorations in the Blue Mountains. There's 11 different sites here, so presentation is going to go for a while here. I've got lots of photographs, and of course we have maps. And I'll be talking about our documentation methods and the explorations, which I'll list here. One of the sections of the toll road, Airway Beacon Hill, north of the Mount Emily Freeway interchange. We had several days of explorations on this area. Beecham Toll Road to the west of Airway Beacon Hill and Blue Mountain Crossing interpretive site, which we also did during the convention. Lad Hill, which I'm sure a lot of you are interested in, and Table Mountain west of La Grande, and a short section of Stage Road east of the Mount Emily Freeway interchange along Summit Road. And one slide on our methods here. GPS tracking with photo waypoints of all of our explorations, accurate GPS locations of all the OCTA markers that we found, been building a map with all of those, and photos of all the wagon ruts and other locations, embedded GPS location information in the photos, digital maps. We use CalTopo to show our GPS tracks and other information from a variety of sources, previous researchers, for instance. And I do Google My Maps with exploration routes and links to the photos taken. 2024 explorations. And this is just the kind of the rundown by date here. Toll road north of Ross Road, west of Meacham. This was an area of the toll road that we explored in 2022 and actually 2021, 22, and 23, south of Emigrant Springs State Park. And our 4 days on Airway Beacon Hill and 4 miles of the toll road east of Highway 30. That's the west side of Airway Beacon Hill. And the east side of I-84, north of Airway Beacon Hill. Small area there. Blue Mountain Crossing interpretive site. Lad Hill, Table Mountain west of La Grande, and our Stage Road location. And here's our key locations map. I'll come back to this periodically to show just, the area that I'm talking about. We have the Hillgard State Park down here, Blue Mountain Crossing, Mount Emily Freeway interchange, Airway Beacon Hill just north of that, Weather Bureau Hill. This is southeast of Meacham, and Meacham here, Hurley's encampment, Emigrant Springs State Park, and the Dead Man Pass up here. So this is the blue is the Oregon Trail from the Grand Ronde Valley here down at La Grande to the Umatilla Valley up here at Pendleton. This is our toll road exploration north of Ross Road. Here's some of our team here. You'll recognize at least one of those people. And here's a location map here. We're just on the other side of the freeway from Meacham, north of Ross Road. And here's a LiDAR hillshade map showing different features here. The freeway is right here. Ross Road is here. This is 2 Mile Creek here. The green is the outline of the private property we were on, and the red is our hiking route. Meacham is over here. It's Highway 30 going north of Meacham. And here's a little cleaned up map here showing the different parts of the trail. Purple is the toll road. It's documented further to the northwest as a stage road. And this is an 1864 documentation here for the toll road going to the northwest. And the orange is the Pendleton Grand Wagon Road. This was documented later in 1887 going north through this area. And it picks up on the other side of the freeway on the Robinson property, which we explored in 2022. And that was in a previous presentation. Here's some of the toll road ruts near 2 Mile Creek. was on the east side of 2 Mile Creek. We didn't hike this previously because we didn't have permission to go onto this property, but we obtained permission, and here we are. And here's some toll road ruts near the pipeline, which runs north and south through the middle of the property. And this is just south of the Willamette Meridian, which runs east and west through the middle of the property. And here's our Pendleton and the Grand Wagon Road on the north end of the property. Not been used for a while. We also explored the toll road. This is south of Meacham and on the west side of the freeway and the east side of Highway 30. And this was done on Oregon State and private land. There's Jenny showing us to follow the ruts through this thicket of conifer saplings.
The best kind of way to be Vanna.
Excuse me, Jenny?
The best way to be Vanna.
Right. Okay, here's our location map here. Just there's Airway Beacon Hill, and this actually went around the west side and almost down to the freeway interchange here, to the Mount Emily Freeway interchange. And here's a more detailed map. Meacham is off the slide to the top of the slide to the north. There's an ODOT gravel yard here, but this toll road follows really along Highway 30 here. There's some toll road surveyor note locations. This one's probably from, I don't know, 1882. And going further south here, following, here's an Emigrant Road surveyor note location. Here's Airway Beacon Hill. The toll road goes around the west side and the south side of Airway Beacon Hill into this is Butcher Creek here, which flows north into Meacham Creek and goes all the way down to almost to the Mount Emily interchange right here. And this is just south of the ODOT gravel yard. We're heading south, starting on following the toll road through here. And it's interrupted in different parts by the power line corridor going through here. Just a single pole line. Here's Highway 30 off to the right. And here we're entering, this is between Highway 30 and Airway Beacon Hill. These ruts are about 3 feet deep. So really, really good ruts here. Hard to see because of the brush and the conifer saplings. And here's that same photograph I showed before, and we plowed right on through these conifer saplings here. But good toll road ruts. And we emerged from all of that brush, and we're headed toward the head of Butcher Creek here. And finally emerging out, we're in a power line corridor here. You can see some of the power lines up here. This is Airway Beacon Hill. There's a communications tower up here. The Airway Beacon Tower is, I think, right behind this tree here. I'll have a photograph of that in a minute. But as you can see, there's a piece of logging equipment, and a lot of this has been logged. This is our toll road going here. Now logging road, we're at the head of Butcher Creek here. We have log decks and burn piles along this area. And we spotted on the south side of Airway Beacon Hill, we spotted an octa marker, so we had to go over there. This is one of Chuck Hornbuckle's octa markers they placed in the 97 to 2000 time frame. And here we're walking, continuing on the toll road here. This is on private property. This road is used occasionally. And this is the last section of the toll road. This isn't used at all, but this is the just west of the freeway, just north of the highway interchange. And this is the last part of the toll road before it crosses the freeway. And here's a historical photo. This is Chuck Hornbuckle's photo of the Foster Toll Road, which is how it's labeled on the GLO maps, General Land Office maps, and the surveyor notes. And this is his marker location. So you can find that on the location on his maps. And another area that we explored was at the east side of I-84. Most researchers show the trail going over on the east side of the freeway. Aubrey Haynes, Percy Brown, Jack Evans, etc. This is private land over here too. Beautiful meadows, but unfortunately, no real significant wagon ruts over here. The location map. 4 is the Airway Beacon Hill, and this is just north of there on the east side of the freeway. And here's a detailed map here. This is the north end of Airway Beacon Hill coming down here. There's also this comes down from Airway Beacon Hill, and there's a power line corridor coming down through here, as well as a pipeline corridor coming through here. So we've got all kinds of man-made corridors. Again, beautiful meadows, but few wagon ruts. Here's an area where we thought we might see a swale through here, but very indistinct. We did find about half a dozen OCTA markers out here. Here's one of them. And here's one that's just above the freeway road cut. This is behind Jenny here. This is Airway Beacon Hill. Coming down the North Ridge, it crossed over somewhere in here. Now our Airway Beacon Hill explorations, we did these over 4 days in different areas, so hopefully this will make sense to you. Location for Airway Beacon Hill is just northwest of the Mount Emily Freeway interchange here, and before we get up to Meacham, right in here. I'm going to magnify this slide here. Okay, the purple is our toll road exploration that I already covered. And here's our east side of the freeway exploration over here, which I just covered. And the other colored lines are the explorations that we did on Airway Beacon Hill. We did one from the south here into Butcher Creek and up the side of the hill. We did one up the east side and then to the top of Airway Beacon Hill. We did one from the west side coming up this way to Airway to the very top here, and then down the North Ridge. So covering all that area. This is the freeway interchange down here. And here's Chuck Hornbuckle's map of OCTA marker placements here. In the lower right, you'll see the freeway interchange at Mount Emily. Here's the top of Airway Beacon Hill here. Chuck shows it coming from from Summit Road along here, and I know some of you have walked this, good ruts through here. It crosses the freeway and comes over to Butcher Creek. And here Chuck has the trail split, one going up Airway Beacon Hill and down this ridge, and the other going up Butcher Creek and bypassing Airway Beacon Hill around this way. So this is on the west side And this area has been logged, so good luck finding wagon ruts here. You see a piece of some logging equipment down here, one of their tree grabbers and cutters. And here's just looking the south side of or southwest side of Airway Beacon Hill. And this is a communication tower that's been put up here. And I think
Is that logging that you're referring to in a recent year, or how recent is it?
this logging has been in the last couple years, but this has been going on for, say, the last 5 years. If we look at say the Oregon State Highway Department 1971 aerial survey maps, this is all timbered except for the very top. There are clearings there, but most of it's been logged in the last 5 years. Here's the airway beacon right here, a little shorter tower here. And here's Jenny's photo of the airway beacon. We have some equipment buildings here, which are obviously in disuse. And just south, actually just east of that airway beacon is this ridge that comes out. Chuck had 3 octa markers along here. We were only able to find one, but this has been logged. A few of the trees have been left, but you just see some younger trees here. The views are magnificent off to the off to the southeast, to the Wallowa Mountains and even the Elkhorn Mountains along the west side of the Powder River Valley. And here's one of the octa markers we found on the top there. You can see some logging slash here, and there's just small trees behind here. All of the bigger trees have been cut. And the southeast side of Airway Beacon Hill, where Chuck shows the route going up, and also Aubrey Haynes and Jack Evans and Percy Brown show the route going up here, but we couldn't find any ruts. But again, the lower part is all logging slash. It's only when you get to the very top that you get into some cleared areas where there were no trees and thus no logging. This is the upper part of the head of Butcher Creek. You can see that this has all been logged. A few trees left, but mostly this logging slash. You'll see a burn pile here. You'll see some log decks here. That toll road comes across over here. You can't really see the road through here because we're looking from below, but it comes through here. And this is our exploration on the north ridge of Airway Beacon Hill, and we did find octa markers here. You see that there's a kind of a road here that's obviously been driven by pickup trucks at one time. Whether this is part of the trail, couldn't tell. No real, obvious, trail ruts here, but there are some tracks up there. And this is on the east side of the Airway Beacon Hill. This has all been logged, very steep. And again, Aubrey Haynes, Jack Evans, etc., showed the Oregon Trail coming up this side of the hill. I would kind of tend to doubt that, but that's where some of the researchers have shown the Oregon Trail coming up. We did not find any traces of wagon ruts here, but again, this has been heavily logged. Back to the west side of Airway Beacon Hill, we found a location here is a pile of rocks with 4 metal fence posts, and we thought, well, this might be a pioneer grave. It's Mark Mulvihill rummaging through his pack, and I found an earlier photograph here. This is Chuck Hornbuckle's photo of Jack Evans and Vic Bolin at this same location. You'll see in the background here are a couple of signs. Unfortunately, those signs are no longer there, so and they didn't take photographs of them, so I don't know what they said, but they felt this was a pioneer grave. And this is another of Chuck Hornbuckle's photos. This was in 2003, south side of Airway, Beacon Hill. They did go through and mark the trees next to the octa marker so that when they did thinning, they wouldn't destroy the trail. Unfortunately, I don't know where this location is. He doesn't give any octomarker designation. In other words, what number is this octomarker, so we could have some idea of about where the location is. But as far as I know, all of these trees have been logged. And here's the Oregon State Highway Department, 1971 aerial panorama of the area, and I've annotated some of this. Freeway here, pipeline corridor here. Here's the power line corridor here, and Butcher Creek, approximate location in blue here. The Arroway beacon is on top of is here. There was no communications tower in 1971, but you can see that all this, the timber here and the timber down through Butcher Creek and all through here. But that is gone now. Okay, on to Blue Mountain Crossing. We did some explorations there at Blue Mountain Crossing as a sort of a dry run for our convention hike. Um, I got this photo off of the internet. Anyone know who these people are? Anyhow, that's the interpretive wagon there at Blue Mountain Crossing interpretive site. And here's our location map here, down here, Hillgard at the Grand Ronde River here, the freeway going up through here.
Robin, we talked a little bit about the German lady who was helping with access to the hike across from Grand Ronde to Hillgard, and this was in the late 1990s. And she was they did have a strong volunteer group, and I think that wagon picture with the couple were part of the volunteer group that used to support the Blue Mountain Crossing Park. There was I think almost every weekend you could go up there and they'd have encampments and things like that. Have we made any contact with any of that group, and does it still exist?
Well, they've had problems getting a host for the Blue Mountain Crossing interpretive site. In fact, I think the last couple, 3 years, no one's been up there. So that program is really no longer,
Defunct.
as far as I know, no longer in effect.
Yeah.
Gerda Brownton, I think,
Yeah.
is the person you're referring to.
Yeah.
And I'll actually have when we get to the Table Mountain section, we'll talk a little bit more about that. This basically is the parking area here, and the blue is where we walked down onto some private land here, and then came back here, and then we went northwest, or in trail terms west, up here, and came back here. Uh, Again, this is our dry run for the convention hike. And here's an interpretive sign along the paved trail. There's a paved loop trail there, if you haven't been there, and showing the ruts. And here's a location here. They have a marker here for the stage road with an 1861 date. As far as I can tell from the newspaper clippings and other sources, there wasn't a stage, across here until 1864. I found an advertisement in May of 1864 that said there was going to be a stage road, a stage company, running stages across. And it wasn't until August of 1864 that they advertised that they were actually running a stage. So I'm not sure where they got this 1861 date, but the ruts are there nonetheless.
I recall those from a visit in the 90s, seeing that, and a short distance away is a swale that's labeled Immigrant Trail, right? Very close to that. And I've always wondered how they differentiated those two and whether that was a valid differentiation. Do you think that is?
Well, That's a good question, and it's difficult to tell which is which.
Yeah.
In general, the toll road is has a lot deeper ruts than the Oregon Trail does because of there was a whole lot more traffic on it, if not all year, most of the year, versus the 2 months or so that the pioneers came over uh, and created their ruts. Um, and also the time frame. The toll road was first built by the Meacham brothers. 1863 is when they bought the house at Lee's encampment and started a hotel. But it ran through, there was stage and freight traffic through till, well, at least until the railroad came over in 1885. So a much longer period of time and a larger number of stages and freight wagons, et cetera, ran over it. So uh, you can in some places you can sort of figure that a trail rut section is toll road and another section might be immigrant road, but it is difficult to tell. Here we're following the trail ruts east. You see a line of rocks here, uh, telltale for where they threw the rocks aside. And here's it goes down through the forest here. Good trail ruts. This might be an extension of that from that toll road sign, that toll road monument. And more ruts here, octomarker and ruts here. In a lot of places, there are dual ruts and even 3 and 4 ruts, to the side of each other. And I would say probably that's from the stages and freight wagons going over the toll road. If they went over it in early spring, say they went across in April after the snow started to melt, they would have avoided muddy areas and maybe have created another track. You just parallel with the track that went through the mud hole they were trying to avoid. But that's speculation on my part. Here's our group portrait. This exploration was a group of 3, so no crowds. One of the older brown markers. And here we're down on private property here at a T-rail marker. This is one that Jenny and the Boy Scouts put in, I think. But you can see this is an open meadow here.
Okay, I have to interrupt here. Gail, this is that one that we put in on the first property when we did that second Eagle project. This was put here because Gail did a lot of work, so I wanted to mention that and thank him for that.
Yeah, and this is at the end of a long gravel and dirt drive from the Summit Road to get down here too, right?
Yeah, it takes quite a while and most of it is open.
Yeah.
The fellow who owns this property has been very accommodating to us and has always allowed us to come onto this property.
Yeah, I think Jenny contacted him before we hiked here too, and he was most gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent him a couple pictures just saying, hey, this is what we saw, just letting you know, everything looks really good, and thank you again for the opportunity. And he was very happy that I was able to send him a couple of emails, so that's nice.
Yeah, he lives in Montana, I think, so doesn't get down here a lot.
There's a cabin over to the right of the thing, and he comes to that cabin whenever he wants to be by himself. He's a Vietnam vet guy that's kind of screwed up, so he's been very nice.
Yeah, you'd definitely be by yourself in this location.
Yeah.
We certainly were. And here's another section of the trail ruts. This is actually west or northwest uphill from the interpretive site parking lot. And another section of continuous ruts here. And this is actually a convention picture of our larger group walking back to the interpretive site after hiking up there. John Briggs and Richard Hunt, but good trail ruts. And here's another of Chuck Hornbuckle's photos of the trail there at Blue Mountain Crossing Interpretive Center, is what he calls it. Okay, on to Lad Hill. This is a group portrait of part of our group. You'll recognize two of those people, I think. Grand Ronde Valley in the background here. Mount Emily is up here, but good views on this exploration. Here's our location map, LeGrand and the Grand Ronde Valley, I-84 coming through here through Ladd Canyon. And this is kind of where we went, to the bottom of the hill. This is the 1971 Oregon State Highway Department aerial photos. This is a kind of a panorama, I think, of 3 or 4 of those different photos showing, where we hiked. Someone at the highway department annotated these with a yellow pencil, and you can't really see, on the photos themselves, it's a little hard to see. So I drew yellow lines over their yellow lines so that you could see them better. And here's a LiDAR hillshade and our GPS track. What we did first part, the landowners had ATVs and we rode those up to a certain point here, this large flat area, and then hiked from there up through here over a ridge, a communication tower down over here, and then kind of sidling or going side hill around the hill, and then down to the bottom. And here we're starting off from our where the ATVs left us. I'm heading toward this ridge here, Mount Emily in the background. And we're kind of aiming for between these two cliff bands here. Not real obvious ruts here. There are some kind of LiDAR traces that go up through here, but so we think that this is where the trail went, but we're not completely sure. And then on top of the ridge, one of the landowners joined us, drove his ATV up there. Communication towers in the background. There, of course, is a good gravel road up to this location. And again, Mount Emily and the Grand Ronde Valley in the background. And then going down from the top of the ridge down toward there's a dirt road and a stock pond down at the bottom of this hill, but good ruts through here. A little hard to see, but these people are walking in the ruts. And down on the road here, this is a view to the east. This road actually comes up here over this ridge and further east. That's not the Oregon Trail. Oregon Trail goes to the left here, and you can see we're kind of moving side hilling around this kind of a broad ridge here, sidling as the pioneers would call it. And we're headed for these trees down here. Again, you can see Mount Emily here, LeGrand here. Lots of wildflowers, really, and bunch grass and this short sagebrush here. Really nice location. and a beautiful day. And here we're moving toward there's a brushy gully here. These are some of the trees on the edge of it. And here we're in the brushy gully. It's not too bad. We didn't have to really bushwhack through here. We could kind of go between the trees. And coming out of the brushy gully on the bottom, good ruts start from there, coming down the hill this way. This is kind of Morgan Lake is up in here somewhere. Table Mountain is behind this ridge here, but this is you're looking up toward this way up at that plateau where we also hiked in October, which I'll get to later. But going down these good swale down here. Here's a continuation of the swale. It goes down and to the there's a pipeline corridor that comes through there that's fairly brush free, and that location we turn to the east, and here's the pine trees that you see from Ronnie Allen's interpretive site, which is right down here. This is an ODOT, a couple of ODOT buildings here, but his interpretive site is right here. So looking up through the scope, as he called it, up to these pine trees, this is what you're looking at.
That's the rest stop in the lower left-hand corner of that, isn't it? Right? Can you go back one?
Yeah. Well, this is a road that comes around. The rest stop is probably just out
Right.
of
Yeah, this.
outside
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Okay, just for worrying.
Yeah.
I thought Ronnie Allen's. I hadn't been out to his site, so I thought they were in that location. But you're
Now
saying it's
they're over here on Hot Lane Road or whatever.
okay.
Follow the signs to ODOT and you'll see it. It's we're right about here.
Yeah, it's on the Hot Lake Road.
Hot Lakes. Okay, and then kind of following, there's a sort of a shelf that goes and angles down the hill here, and you see we're following that down through the bunch grass, some short pine trees, and then finally crossing the fence at the bottom. And here we're at the bottom, and you see the Grand Ron Valley stretched out below here. Not Emily here. The Grand is over here. And here's a really old picture. This is from drawing by William Tappan in the book March of the Mounted Riflemen by Major Osborne Cross. And the March of the Mounted Riflemen was March to October of 1849. 5 companies of men, 171 supply wagons, and their purpose was to establish and garrison forts along the Oregon Trail. But this is a drawing of them coming down Lad Hill. Looks like he's showing them coming down straight down the hill. But I think there's some artist's license involved here.
I think the wagons would be much smaller in that perspective too. Don't you think
Yeah, these wagons are about 50 feet high. Like I say, Lad Canyon on the right here and Lad Creek here. But yeah, there's some artistic license involved here. So on to Table Mountain. Table Mountain exploration. This is west of LeGrand. Table Mountain is actually just immediately west of LeGrand, up above the hospital. And then beyond that to the west is a large plateau, essentially, before it gets to the Grand Ronde River at Hillgard. I had to call the whole area just Table Mountain, even though Table Mountain is really the eastern end of it. And here's our location map here, going across here. Hillgard is the number one here. And the white is the road we drove up on, parked here. And the blue is my route out, and the red is my route back. Uh, Jenny and Mark and Dave went further than I did, so they went out the green and back the blue. The orange is the Chuck Hornbuckle octomarkers. The blue is the octomarkers we did actually find. And the crosses are the different grave sites from different sources. Some of these might be the same, but I put them all on there just to show that there's some grave sites up there. And here we're starting out from where we parked along the fence line. This is one property owner here. We did have permission to hike on. Across the fence is another property owner that we did not have permission to hike on, so we stayed off of that property. And that's why you see us going around the fence line here. This is all one landowner here, another landowner up here. So octomarkers, we found, half a dozen or more of these. This area is pretty open and quite rocky actually, so it must have been fairly difficult to get those octomarkers in the ground. There's a ponderosa pine tree with one of the signs. That you see along this section of the trail, Route of the Oregon Trail. This one was broken off. It actually belongs up here. We found the stub as we hiked along. And here we're on something of a road. This bends to the right and actually goes down here, eventually to past a spring and a stock pond. There's our fence line that we started out on here. And this is one of our grave markers. And Chuck Hornbuckle said that these were put in place, these Iron Cross grave markers were put in place by the Oregon Department of Transportation many years ago. So maybe during the 1950s. Yeah, I'm not sure. But we found several of these. No signage or any other indication of who might be buried here, but just the iron, just the crosses. And here's another one of our signs. We're heading further west here. Here's another grave marker. I put these all on the map, even though we don't know who's buried here, but they're documented. And here's one along a fence line here in a little clump of trees. I was talking with Wendell Baskins, and this is what he thought the Emily Doan gravesite was here. And I'm not sure whether this is that gravesite or not. Looking at the various sources of information, Chuck Hornbuckle has his location, Aubrey Haynes has his location, and this is a third location. So anyone knows, have any further information about Emily Doan and her gravesite, let me know. Supposed to have been 1868 when she was 8 years old. So Jack Evans, I think, said that it might have been, they might have actually been traveling the trail, but there may have been homesteads up here. So this might be a homestead grave. And we end up on a gravel road. This is a good gravel road. Goes to one of the stock ponds on the area. And this is at the Aubrey Haynes Emily Doan gravesite location. Looking back east, we couldn't find any indication of where the grave was. No iron crosses, no grave markers of any kind here. And this is near the Chuck Hornbuckle's Emily Doan grave location. There's a kind of a little cliff band that goes along here. And then down in these trees is where Jack Evans marks a probable campsite near a spring. We didn't go down there. That's for a future exploration, I guess. And here's a Chuck Hornbuckle photo. This was the 1997 Trails Day, organized apparently by Gerda Brownton and Lynetta Paul, LeGrand trail enthusiast. And I think, according to Chuck, they let a hike to Hillgard each year, or at least for several years. The LP014 is the Chuck Hornbuckle's octa marker number, so you know approximately where this was, or you can figure it out. And here's another photo, a little further to the west. They did their hike, it looks like, in the early summer or spring, so everything is green as opposed to, brown like we saw on our October hike.
Robert, let me interrupt you for a second. That's where the Park Service, what am I trying to say? The 3.5 miles that we put on the National Register.
Right.
That's exactly that area there.
So good turnout in 97. And the final exploration was a kind of a solo effort on Hancock Forest Management property. And their property, they allow people to travel on with here's some fire season restrictions. I didn't do any of this stuff, so I'm clean. And this is the east or northeast, technically, of the Mount Emily interchange. And here's the Mount Emily interchange down here. There's the Summit Road going out to Mount Emily and actually all the way to State Highway 204, I think it is, up to Tollgate from Elgin. But there's a little section of Stage Road here. There's a surveyor note location, Wagon Road, east to west. There's an existing road here. This purple is from the Aubrey Haynes map. He calls this a stage road. But there's a continuity here. I started here and went west. It's the Mount Emily, or the Summit Road here, and it goes right through into the woods here. And it looks like this has been used. And as we keep going further west, it keeps deteriorating through the woods here to a property boundary. Posted no trespassing. Luckily, we have permission to hike on this particular property, so I continued on, and the road becomes even better here. There's actually a hunters camp up in this area, so this is probably gets used in the fall at least, and we end up on a Forest Service here. This is a road that they've used for logging. And that's it, all 11 locations. Questions?
That's really great, Robin. It's an amazing body of work that you and your team did out there. And I think it's the first work at this level that's been done since at least that 1993 period. So it's great to see. Really appreciate all the people that have been working on that. If I could ask you a more general question, especially in the Blue Mountain area, where there's such a complex of trails, you have stage roads, you have toll roads, you probably have multiple routes of the Oregon Trail through the area also. if you look at what the Park Service, and they are forced to pick a single line, the NHT1, um, can you generalize your research in terms of the relevance to that line? Is that line supported by your research? I know it is in certain areas, and it's a tough question, but is the line that we've used as a stunning understanding of where the trail is located, uh, is that being confirmed?
Well, the Park Service line is a very generalized line. If you look at it, placed on a topographic map, it does some things that the pioneers would never do, like
Right.
go to the bottom of a creek canyon and go back up the other side,
Yeah.
rather than take a detour around the head of that creek, and and not have a descent or an ascent. So it's difficult to answer the question. No, it's just their Oregon Trail line is just a generalized line. It has really nothing to do with what's on the ground. It's just goes through the general area. One area where they were it is actually wrong is the Meacham area. They show it going west of the freeway, uh, and it in fact follows Highway 30 from Meacham north.
Right.
Uh, and the west of the freeway is the actual toll road. But you have to go to the General Land Office maps is the first thing that you look at to show, where they indicate there are roads, and look at the dates of the maps too. Some surveys are early, some are late, anywhere from 1863, the Willamette Meridian, for instance, through Meacham, and to 1887, the north part of it near Dead Man's Pass. But beyond that, you can actually look at the surveyor notes, their notebooks essentially of what they of what they found when they were walking the section lines, or essentially establishing the section lines and the section corners and the quarter section corners, etc., and what they said. They might say, you'll see on the map, you'll see a line, an obvious road crossing a section line, but if you go to the surveyor notes, they'll say Emigrant Road, northwest and
Yeah.
southeast. Whether they were right or not, you can, what I've done is kind of mark it as Emigrant Road, and then later just get the big picture of the area from all of the surveyors and all of their notes, and kind of, you have to really judge for yourself. But I think they do mark the toll road. A lot of times they were a bit later, so they call it the Foster's Toll Road, Meacham Brothers Toll Road. Stage Road is the same as the toll road. That was, and the Immigrant Road was kind of in there too. Some areas you can't tell the difference. Other areas you can, but they were very very close and almost synonymous in some areas. But today it's hard to really hard to tell. Just being there and looking at it, that they both went through this area. Um, and other areas they're separate. So that's what we're doing is mapping all of those different, all those different trails and putting them on the map. And then when we get that all together, looking at it, from a 10,000-foot view and saying, well, Toll Road went over here and the Emigrant Road, went over here. So, regardless of what people, later say, um, the area west of Meacham where we walk the toll road and the Pendleton and Grand Wagon Road on private property there is where the Park Service has the Oregon Trail traveling through, and that's actually the toll road. The Pendleton Grand Wagon Road in that area was sort of a tie road in between the toll road and the Oregon Trail on the other side of the freeway. So the trails are still there. It just requires interpreting by, looking at all of the information available. The 1971 Oregon State Highway Department engineers, unfortunately, were had a they had a 2.5 year time span in which to do all of the Oregon Trail from the Snake River to the Dalles, and on their own time. And so they were doing it on weekends and vacations. They had the GLO maps or whatever, but they were confused by them because of the multiplicity of roads is what they referred to, the toll road, and they couldn't distinguish in between them. And that's true in a lot of areas. They didn't have time to go to the BLM office and actually read through all of the surveyor notes. That's much easier now because the BLM has them online, and I can sit here in the comfort of my living room and review all of those notes. So I can have a lot more information about where the surveyors found the different roads.
Well, I think that's a real lesson learned for research in other areas. I know in past times in OCTA, they spent a lot of time arguing about the trail is here and not there, when it was really a situation like you've been dealing with in the Blue Mountains. And so I think it's a great lesson learned for anybody who's doing trail research to be flexible in interpreting these things.
The surveyor notes to me are really in the maps, of course, the surveyor notes are key to really understanding a lot of what's going on out there. And it's not that the surveyors weren't occasionally wrong, they were. Uh, even there were other errors. I know on the 1863 Timothy Davenport survey of the Willamette baseline, he went from near Pilot Rock all the way east to east of Elgin to establish the Willamette Meridian. And in his notes, you read through his notes, then you look at the map, you realize that the cartographer had put the Emigrant Road in the wrong place on the map.
Hmm.
He had it in the right section, but he had it in the wrong. They had it in the wrong township.
Hmm.
So there's little errors like that. But if
Yeah.
you go to the notes, you know where he found, where he actually found the Emigrant Road. So reading the surveyor notes is really is important.
I
Well,
had a question.
excuse me, I wonder whether it would make sense eventually to, with our money in the chapter, hire an archaeologist and get the immigrant road registered with SHPO. All your work, it really needs to go to SHPO and become the state route or acknowledged route, if you will.
Right, and I know Wendell Baskins has had. I don't know whether he's on that particular committee or not, but he's had dealings with them. And it's too bad he's not on this Zoom call, or he would have something to say, I'm sure.
Robin, I had a question. On that one old photo you had of the grave site with the two signs on it, have you used Photoshop or something to try to enhance the signs, bring them out to see if you could actually read them?
Oh yeah, let me see if I can find that here.
Because sometimes I've had success using Photoshop and, tweaking things to read almost unreadable things at times. But, I just wondered. Yeah, that one.
Let's see if I can.
Because if
There
you
we
have
go.
a fairly high resolution photo of that, it's possible maybe, to read something on those signs.
What I have is a paper copy, is one of Chuck's publications in one of his notebooks, basically. And I've taken that paper photo. As you can see, there was it's a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with about 4 photos on it. And
Uh,
this is the upper left-hand corner. So I've scanned that at probably 600 DPI, and I don't really think there's a ghost of a chance of reading those signs.
Yeah.
That's why I wish he had taken pictures, maybe of the sign, or somewhere there are photos of that, or he talks about it, but I couldn't find it. It wasn't in the documentation that accompanied this photo.
Mhm. Do you know if Jack Evans took any photos on that trip? Which
I
is
have I have I have no photos from Jack Evans.
I wondered. Yeah. Well, I knew Jack fairly well. Um, we had many, many conversations in the years past. So I just wondered if he had taken photos anywhere. Uh, I could probably get a hold of his son, who still lives in the house that Jack lived in. The last time I talked to him, he said that a lot of Jack's material was still upstairs.
Right, and I've visited with him at his house,
Okay.
and he gave me some of Jack's things, but he hasn't gone through all of the stuff in the attic. It's not
Uh,
on the top of his priority list, unfortunately.
yeah.
Now, you would know better than I would, it sounds like, if Jack took photographs on his outings.
Yeah. I don't remember ever talking with him about that. I just wondered if he had done any in conjunction with his book.
Well, there's photos, there's not a whole lot of photos in his book.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he has some other. Well, this is from a Chuck Hornbuckle, notebook. So I don't know of any Jack Evans photos other than, what's in various things that I've had access to,
Mm.
including the boxes of Jack's notes at the university there in La Grande.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no photos. It would be really nice to see what those signs say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably scan that about 1600 and then try to blow it up. But
Yeah, unfortunately, making a higher resolution doesn't increase the clarity. Of course, on your TV programs, you see where they take something that's blurry and read license plates on it, but that's
yeah. Yeah.
I think that's possible in some instances, but I think there's a lot of artistic license involved in those in those police dramas.
Yeah. But like I say, sometimes if I scan it at high enough resolution, you can blow up a specific area there. And
Yeah, I know how it's done, but
yeah.
unfortunately, the resolution in the scanned paper copy, which the PDF was, I probably the PDF I scanned probably scanned it at 600. I might have scanned it at 300, but you can't get resolution out of something that doesn't it's not there in the first place.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
To Gail's point about the need to accurately interpret and survey the trail, something I've run into in the B2H project is that when they're doing the evaluation of impacts, they focus on sites. And the very first thing they asked us is, where are the graves? And they really had all the information. We did refer them to Randy and other people who have information. But it's interesting, in doing the archaeology, they focus on sites. And I said, well, sites are one aspect of our interest, but we're really interested in the trail. And we consider the whole trail to be an artifact.
Right.
And it's not clear that that's the way the SHPO offices look at it. They have things in their database. And so there is, again, to Gail's point, there is a lot of work to be done that would improve our protection if we had better documentation on the trail itself.